I am Sunaya Kusingan. For my report in Educ 503, I'm going to present to you the kinds of learning. It's generally accepted that there are 7 different learning style, while most of us fall across the spectrum of each of these style, facilitating lessons that are engaging on all levels will give your student the best chance of success. Before anything else, here are the list of learning outcomes that you are expected to attempt at the end of my discussion. Number one, to know what are those different kind of types of learning. Second, to learn some qualities associated with each learning style. And the third one, to learn how to engage the different type of learning in your classroom. And the fourth one is to discuss the strategies to improve engagement for students of each learning style. The idea of individualized learning style started in 1970s, and since then has greatly influenced education. Neil Fleming, he is a teacher from New Zealand. He introduced a framework called BRIGHT model. Fleming's learning style are categorized into visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. BRIGHT model is one of the common and widely used framework today. To expand on Fleming's model, let's have a look at Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, the 7 learning style. Howard Earl Gardner, he is an American development psychologist, and he introduced the multiple intelligence theory, or commonly known as the 7 learning styles. Contrary to the traditional educational framework, there is actually a diverse range of learning style appropriate for every student. Schools generally use a linguistic or logical learning style, but other styles may be more effective for some learners. Are you a visual learner? Do you need to draw things out? Are you constantly doodling? Do you find it easier to understand something if it is in a diagram? Then you are a visual special learner. If you are a visual spatial learner, you use knowledge or concept maps, use visual symbol as a way to express knowledge, concept, thought or ideas, and the relationship between them. And these are these are a great tool for visual or spatial learners, as you can draw connection or use color coding to group ideas by representing information spatially and with image. Students are able to focus on meaning recognize and group similar ideas easily, and utilize their visual memory to learn. Also, visual learners often pursue careers such as architecture, engineering, project management, or design. Visual learners often possess the following qualities: not easily distracted, enjoy planning, habitual toddlers drawers, observant, and prefers visual instruction. How to engage a visual and spatial learner? To engage a visual learner in the classroom, you will want to include elements like maps, diagrams, and imagery. If you have a projector, try to include a relevant image to go along with the course content. In geography, history, maps and are helpful, while for maths and logic, go with diagram. Charts, image, and diagram will and most students so catering to visual learners does not mean you have to ignore other types. When it comes to self-driven learning, encourage the especially aware to sketch out their ideas and create mind maps and charts. It should probably come to them naturally, but a bit of prompting can always help. Other tactics you can use include sitting visual learner near the front and using color codes and cues, and also encouraging note taking and recapping note during study. Are you an auditory learner? Do you dislike reading? Do you need someone to tell you something something out loud to understand it? Then you are oral auditory musical learner. Then if you are an oral auditory musical learner, you depend on hearing the information to fully understand it rather than just reading it from a book. For example, when memorizing a phone number, an auditory learner will see it out loud first and take note of how it sounded to remember it. And also, auditory learners like to hear solution and examples explained to them and may gravitate toward music subjects and group learning as a way to understand information. Auditory learners have the aptitude to notice audible signal like change in tone or pitch, to name a few. Oral learners often pursue careers such as musician, recording engineer, speech pathologist, or language teacher. Qualities often associated with auditory learners include possessing a good ear for music and tones, maybe this the distractible, like to talk to ourselves, other hum and sing, might see words out loud or hum tones to better learn them. How to engage an auditory and musical learner? If you are a music teacher, you are in luck. Auditory learners will be engaged from start to finish. For other subjects, however, engaging oral learners requires some tact and forethought. The key here is your voice and the voice of your student. Write down something on the whiteboard, then read it out loud. Work on your delivery so you can express learning material in interesting and engaging tones. Similarly, encourage your student to read back their own notes to themselves and the notes to themselves and the class. Hearing the sound of their own voice and the voice of other is engaging to auditory learners, but it can be a great learning food for students of all types. Other strategies you can try include is recording lesson for later listening and reference, encouraging auditory listeners to teach other verbally, and setting them away from distraction. Do you love words and writing? Do you find it easier to express themselves by writing or speaking? Then you are a visual linguistic learner. If you are a visual linguistic learner, you love to write and read. You like to play on the meaning or sound of words such as tongue twister, rhymes, and so on. And you are familiar with the definitions of many words and regularly make an effort to learn more meanings of new words. And techniques used by verbal learners involve mnemonics, scripting, role-playing, and anything that involves both speaking and writing. Verbal learners often pursue public speaking within administration, uh, journalism, or politics. There are some qualities associated with a verbal learners include intellectual, bookworm, worm, good storyteller. How to engage a verbal learner? Verbal learners will want to write down notes, talk about concept and potential, present them as well. The trick with verbal learners is knowing what adjacent types of learning apply to them. Are they an outgoing or more introspective verbal learner? Some may learn more to talking while others to reading and writing. And try to cater to their preference while also using their verbal abilities to push personal boundaries every once in a while. Are you a physical hands-on learner? Are you a hands-on type of person? Then you are a physical kinesthetic learner. If you are a physical kinesthetic learner, in this type in this style, learning happens when the learner carries out a physical activity rather than listening to a lecture or watching a demonstration. Those who have a preference for kinesthetic learning are called doers and much prefer hands-on learning. Kinesthetic learners make up about 5% of the population. Kinesthetic learners prefer to physically engage with the materials of the subject matter. Kinesthetic learners are often interested in careers such as emergency service, safety representative, physical education, or entertainment such as acting or dance. Some qualities associated with physical learners include the preference to get their hands dirty, to energetic may drum fingers or shake legs, action oriented and outgoing, may they prioritize reading and writing. Physical learners represent about 5% of the population and gravitate towards career with lots of hands-on work like emergency service, physical education, and sports. How to engage a physical or kinesthetic learner? Channeling the energy and excitability or physical learners is key to offering a good lesson. Taking breaks, taking breaks so they can move around can help, but so can encouraging a role play and movement within the lesson left itself. Rather, physical interaction is also important. The use of props and models will greatly benefit a kinesthetic learner. Give them something to grab onto and they will process information much better than from a book or whiteboard. Other strategies to engage physical learners include encouraging movement during study. Don't punish them for fidgeting. Decluttering text and surfaces so they can focus on learning. Do you have a logical learning style? Are you great with numbers? Do you like using brain for logical and mathematical reasoning? So then you are a logical mathematical learner. If you are a logical mathematical learner, you easily recognize patterns and can connect seemingly meaningless concepts easily. Logical learners often learn toward classifying and grouping information to help them further understand it. You excel in numbers and are fine with doing complex calculations such as basic trigonometry of the top of your head. Logical learners could pursue career in fields such as scientific research, accountancy, bookkeeping, or computer programming. Some qualities associated with mathematical learners include pattern recognition, good with numbers, predisposition towards grouping and classification. How to engage a logical and mathematical learner? Mathematical learners will greatly appreciate any type of learning that logically explains the subject at hand. For maths, that easy. For other subjects, it required some effort and planning. History and geography try to include statistic and classification taxonomy in your lesson plan. Literature, ask your student what category of book is this, or in poetry, Have them learn the meters and explain them to other students. Music teaches about a musical instrument classification, word band, and etc. The the mathematical relationship between notes. Art, a good starting point is the color wheel, and the effect of combining different colors. With logical student always look to incorporate a system. If you are unsure, include the student in the development of that system. They will benefit from it generally. Are you a social learner? Are you a people person? Do you prefer social or interpersonal learning? Then you are a social interpersonal learner. If you are a social interpersonal learner, you are at best in socializing and communicating with people both verbally and non-verbally. People often come to you to listen and ask for advice. They do because of the apparent sensitivity you have to their their feelings, moods, and even motivation. You listen well and empathize with what others are thinking and going through. Social learners may pursue counseling, teaching, training, and coaching, sales, politics, and human resources, among others. Some of the qualities often associated with this type of learner includes extravagant, extraverted, good communicator, sensitive, and empathetic. It's important uh, it's important for educators to understand that not all social learners are extroverted or highly communicative, and that they can also be visual, auditory, verbal, logical, or physical learners. The interpersonal aspect perhaps better describe the setting in which they are most comfortable rather than how they absorb information. As such, teachers should be cognizant of the breadth of variation between different type of social learner. For example, social does not strictly mean verbal. Some social learners prefer to listen in a group setting rather than on their own. Okay, how to engage a social and interpersonal learner? To engage a social learner, encourage both group collaboration and presentation. Consider the role-playing, historical event or words of literature, collaborating on math problems, working as a class on comprehension question. Interpersonal learners like to do and to share. This can sometimes lead to distraction for other students who are more intrapersonal in their learning habits. To prevent this, try to channel social learner into providing value to the group, giving them tasks that use their energy usefully with a focus on empathy for their classmates. Okay, do you have a solidarity learning style? Do you prefer working alone? Are you private, independent, and introspective? Then you are solitary intrapersonal learner. If you are a solitary intrapersonal learner, Your concentration is at its best when you focus on your thoughts and feeling without the distraction of others. Author and researchers often have a strong solitary learning style. However, having a good solitary group grounding is evident for many top performance in a range of fields. Being able to learn introspectively works well with some of the more dominant learning style. Some of the qualities often associated with this type of learners include independent, introspective, and private. How to engage a solitary and intrapersonal learner? In a classroom environment, it can sometimes be difficult to engage a solitary learner. They might sit silently in the back of the classroom only to ace the exam at the end of semester. For the educator, it's important to engage them during class and to provide visual material books and learning aids and to designate quiet areas and collaborate with defined sharing time so the solitary learner can feel adequately prepared. Each student or pupils has unique multiple intelligence and different ways to learn. In other words, not every person learns best from a single teaching approach. That's why we have to use mixed learning approach. With large classroom, it is not always easy to personalize lesson, but using a mixed learning approach throughout coursework can help you cater to each type of learning style. When students are not performing as well as they could be, it is likely they just need to be taught in a different way. It is important to remember the diversity is not exclusively about qualities, belief, and fit. It is can also determine how we best learn new skills. You may decide to focus on a particular learning type each lesson or incorporate multiple strategies within each lesson. Some people learn through movement and hands-on activities, while some need visual information to fully understand a concept. A successful teacher is the one who does not only disseminate knowledge and encourage learning, but can also identify the learning style of student and tend to each one of them. The most important element is first recognizing the the differences in student learning. The rest will flow from there. Thank you for listening and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.